Hello, Awifians. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you all, wherever you may be in the world. I hope you're well. I hope you're having a fantastic weekend. My name is Lilian Molle. I am the founder and CEO of the African Women's Economic and Entrepreneurship Forum, the place where we challenge the status quo for economic advancement of African women worldwide. I mean worldwide, from Africa to the US to Australia. My job is to get women together to create the space that's necessary for our financial freedom. And when you get there, my job is to make you as comfortable as possible in your body, mind, and soul so you enjoy the benefit of your hard work. Today, it's an amazing day for me because I am with a beautiful soul from Australia. I think it's a beautiful time to be alive. It's an amazing time to be alive, to see how women collaborate with one another, to see how women are putting out the best they can for each other. And it's my great pleasure to really introduce to you this amazing friend, Krystal Hille from Australia. Hello, Krystal. How are you?
Hello. I'm very well. It's such an honor to be here with you, Lillian. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You are welcome. All the way from Australia.
So I live just outside of Melbourne in Gippsland, Victoria. But that's not where I'm originally from. I'm originally from Germany.
Oh, good to know. It's a pleasure to have you because you have set an amazing goal for yourself and to women at large, irrespective of who we are, where we're from, or where we live. So my question to you is, please introduce to my audience who you are and why you've taken upon yourself such heavy weight on helping us all put out our story to the world, because it's not an easy thing to say, okay, I'm serving the African women community irrespective of where they are, but you are serving women at large. Who are you, Krystal?
Thank you for that question. When I was a teenager, I knew that I was here to help people. I didn't know how. I thought it was through psychology, but I had this knowing that I was here for something big. And I know I'm not alone in that. I know so many of us have teenage or even childhood dreams that we know we're here for something bigger. And so that has been my driving force throughout. Initially I started in theater. I was a theater director. Then I moved in London, by the way. Then I moved to England and really fell into life coaching. So I studied life coaching, I studied NLP, I became a Reiki master, and I really started working with women to reclaim their feminine essence, because that was my journey, coming out of that patriarchal way in which as women, we feel like we have to fit in, we feel like we have to be as good as or compare ourselves to men, whilst that is going against everything that we have inside of us. We are, that feminine essence. And so that was what I was doing for many, many years, really helping women to claim and reclaim their feminine power and stand in their own essence. And in 2000, I started running workshops all across Australia. And when COVID hit, all of that shut down, of course. And so I was at this place, and one of my mentors, she was also a publisher, and she was publishing a book called Awakening, Meet the Women Birthing a New Earth. And I thought, that's me. This is the time to awaken. So I was contributing to her multi-author book. And then a couple of months later, she announced that she was going to train people to publish books. And somehow, for this weird reason, that my soul said, yes, you need to do this. And I questioned it for a long time. I was like, well, how does that fit in? But I worked it out. I realized that, I was the editor of my school magazine. I'd always wanted to share stories. I was helping women live the best life. And now what I'm doing is I'm calling together the visionaries, the leaders, the way showers, and even those who feel like they've got a message to share, but maybe not quite ready to do so. I'm asking them to come out of the shadows and to say, yes, this is our time. This is your time because we're at such a critical point in the human history where the power needs to be transferred to those heart-centered leaders. And a lot of us female entrepreneurs are just that, and so I have a worldwide audience as well, and calling on them to come forward to share the wisdom that they have gained throughout their hardships and their trials and tribulations, to share the wisdom and the awareness that they've now come into.
It's so powerful to just sit here and listen to the reason why you started what you're doing today and why you're so passionate about women in general. As an African born, now living in Switzerland for over 2 decades, Africa has a rich culture and stories to tell. However, when we look into the stories that are being told, most of them are told by men from the masculine perspective. Of course, there are female writers as well, but not as many as we would hope for. What triggers me is that there is a lot to be said, but it's been seen from one perspective.
Yeah.
What would life be like if we saw many more feminine side of the African story? What would life be like if we had more of Africa's reality rather than colonialization and all the kind of masculine hard discussion that's happening now? What would life be, or what stories could we be telling the next generation if we both sat the masculine energy and the feminine energy and have a real discussion? But most especially, or more importantly, what would life be like if we women acknowledge the fact that we are our own biggest trouble? We are holding ourselves back simply because we are afraid. Simply because we do not have too many examples out there where we could say, "Oh, she did it, so I can do it." Let's keep multiplying the numbers that we see out there. What's your take on this part of the discussion, that women are not showing up enough?
Yeah, women are not enough, and that's the story that is still out there. Yeah. I read this book called When God Was a Woman. And in that book, yes, it's an incredible book. I've forgotten the name of the author right now, because literally this conversation is sparking it. But it's based on mythological, but as well as archaeological research. Yeah. So it's quite an academic book. But in that, there is a passage that I will never forget about the Bible. And the academics and scholars of the time were saying, Eve has sinned, or woman has sinned, so let her not teach. And so that is in our cellular memory. That is somewhere in our DNA, that shame of the original sin. And whether you're Christian or not, it lives in our culture. And so when we can become aware of that, and when we can become aware of where some of these fears or inadequacies come from, we can do something about it. And the publishing industry, women weren't even allowed to be publishers 100 years ago. It was a man's business. That's how ingrained this masculine story still is, but it's changing.
Yes.
And it's changing, and you're doing an incredible job in bringing awareness to this. And I have so much respect for African women, because as you said, the stories are rich. The culture is so rich, so rich, much more so than a lot of the Western cultures, because we have somehow, it's not been passed on, because the masculine patriarchy has successfully, subdued it. Another reason why I feel a lot of women don't share their truth or speak their voices is because, again, in our cellular memory, we have fear of witch hunts. Whether you believe in past lives or not, I happen to believe in past lives, and I have been working with a lot of women, and including myself, to overcome the fear of speaking our truth for fear of death, literal death and dying. So this too, somewhere, unless it is being resolved and integrated, is still somewhere in our cellular memories, and it's time to flush it to the surface as the great shadow of the world is being flushed out at the moment, and we're being challenged to really look at who am I as a sovereign being? Who am I? Where have I lost my self-worth? Where have I lost my power? And just bring it back, call it back, so that we have the courage to show up. Because the difference between us sharing a story and somebody who may be afraid, it's just courage. It's not fear. It's not that we're not afraid, but it's the courage to show up. And so that's really what I'm inviting people to tap into.
And that's the intuitive part of the discussion, where you're encouraging people to dig down, ask yourself, what do you have to gain? What do you have to lose if you do not, put this story out there? What legacy do you want to hand out to the world or to the next generation or even to yourself? And that's the beauty of your work, which I'm so grateful to have, stumble upon your work. I've listened to some of your live streams, and I think there's a bigger mission behind this discussion, which we must carry. However, you must bear with me. In the African society, fear is a real thing. It's not a liberal community as most continents are. Where do you think a woman can find the courage to speak her truth, to write down her truth, even if she knowingly that it might cause havoc in her life or in the life of her family? Where do we find this courage? You might not be the right person to answer the question because you are from a different continent, but I think this is where the beauty lies. When we start listening to other people's stories, when we start picking up other people's courage, that helps a lot. So where do you think she could find the courage to speak her truth, to write her truth?
That's a really beautiful question. I feel, for myself personally, the way I found it is by knowing that I am coming from a place of integrity and from a place of compassion, both for myself and all those around me. So that when I speak my truth and I share my story, it is not against anyone, because I'm understanding it's my perspective. It's done from a place of real integrity and real honoring, even if there have been perpetrators in my life, for example. And because we all have experienced perpetrators in our lives, and people have done wrong to us. And yes, we have done wrong to people at some stage, on some way, because one of my mentors once said, we are all the bad person in somebody else's story.
Oh, yes.
So knowing that, I can only rely on my integrity. I can only rely on what is true for me and come from a place of compassion for all, because we have been so wounded. The ways of the world that have controlled us have left us so fragmented, so devoid from love. How can we collaborate with one another if we don't love ourselves? How can we love others if we don't love ourselves? And my current book that's coming out very soon is actually called Collaboration. And so I've had the opportunity to really deepen into what that means to me, and where have I still been in competition? Where have I been out of sisterhood? And how do I need to love myself even more so that I can share my story with integrity and courage?
We have a comment from Muriel, who is in Australia as well, just like you. And she's a book coach as well. She has a lot of knowledge she's a published author herself. So she also, it's a good example for us all, hanging on the bar, trying to get that book out. So you two, like I'm looking up to you. The day I say, okay, push this thing out, you will be the one in my mind that's encouraging me to go do it, go get it, and say it as it is. Coming to say it as it is, my fear of my book, why I'm holding on. Sometimes it's not the right time and you've got to wait a little bit. Sometimes your character may not be the perfect thing or the perfect person to write that book because it might be too harsh. The book I have in my head, sometimes it's like there was a lot of anger coming out, and I keep holding myself saying, hold on a minute, wait, just wait. Give yourself some time so you can find the right words to put in that book. How do you help somebody like me struggling to this book must get out, and me saying, hold on a little bit?
What I would say to you is write it in that authentic voice that is angry, that is pissed off, that is still got, because what you'll then do is you're writing that anger out of your system. Doesn't mean that that is, that's your first draft. Doesn't mean that that's what we're going to publish. But it has to come out onto the page. That rage, that anger, that frustration, it has to come out. So write it all down, and then leave it for a little bit. Maybe really sit with that anger, really, use the tools that you have to honor the anger, to integrate the anger, because anger is a moving power, right? Anger moves us forward. Anger is an activator. And if we can honor it for that, then it can lose its power over us. It doesn't control us anymore. Then we can work with it, use the forward force, and use that momentum to then write a second draft that doesn't need to be angry anymore, because you have released that anger and you've written it out of your system and integrated it.
Oh, you have answered a question that I wasn't hoping you would answer, because this is what happened. I had so much anger in preparing this book, which I have drafted, kept it raw, and I still see myself with tears on some of those pages. And all of a sudden, something beautiful happened. A completely new idea came up, which was full of love, appreciation, but had nothing. There was no connection between the book that I initially wanted to write and what came up in my mind and what I have now as idea, which is more talking about, how we did this, the proof of this. This is how I did it. This is how I did it. And these are the results. And it had nothing to do with the first book. So I am so grateful that someone is acknowledging my anger and just wait, put it down in paper and wait and see what comes up, because I have both, but they're completely two different books. So I'm asking myself, whoa, what happened here? And I'm so grateful that then I met you. Then you're bringing this discussion up, which is amazing. Is that not intuition and just waiting?
I love it. I love that. Yes. And the other thing is that I do multi-author books. So that means that many women are coming together to write to one theme, one book. So we don't have to feel like, oh my God, I've got to write this whole book. You can start small. We take one step at a time. And being part of a multi-author book or an anthology where you just write one chapter, that is sharing your story or sharing your wisdom or sharing whatever is on your heart to be channeled through, is a beautiful stepping stone. And then you become a best-selling author, and suddenly something happens when we become a published author. We see ourselves in a different way. We hold ourselves in a different way. Like, I've experienced this over and over with the people in my books, that they're raising their consciousness, their frequency, they're claiming their expertise, they're claiming their genius, and they go through this massive transformative journey to arrive at a place where they're holding themselves in the world, no longer the victim, but here, this is me.
And that's exactly what Nirel, she's saying. Be yourself. What's the message you want to send? Who are you talking to? That will help you progress. She's an author herself, so you both know what you're talking about. I'm a student today. Hey, so this is a free coaching call from two different coaches, which makes a lot of sense and gives me a lot of comfort to know I am late with the book, yes, but that's the way to go. And it will be okay. I just need to know who I'm talking to. I just need to know that the world is waiting for this book, and I do not have to tell the entire story. I could do it on, let's say, volume 1, volume 2, and just get started. That's the message for us today.
Absolutely. And being yourself. Yeah. So true. Because nobody can do what you do the way you do it. And so who are you to hold back? Who are you not to share your story, right? Because you're unique and the world needs you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here, especially at a time like this.
Yes, absolutely. We are all unique in our own ways, and we are all part of the puzzle. We are
Yeah,
all part of the puzzle. If we do not contribute, I mean, there will be a missing link, right?
exactly. Exactly.
So, how do you accompany women from idea to a book? From an idea to a book? How do you accompany them along the way?
So right now I'm focusing on the multi-author books. So the current one that is there is called Intuitive Living, and it's a
Yes,
practical guide for women who want to deeply trust themselves. So that's the woman we're speaking to. And it's bringing in a rich variety of different women with different professions. Some personally, some use intuition in their personal lives, others teach intuition. But how I accompany these women is by really sharing, holding them, asking them to tell me their story. Because some of them say, look, Krystal, I'm not a writer, but I have a message to share. So I tell them, okay, tell me. And then I ask them questions. I bring the story out for them. We record it. And then once it's out, it's easy to write it. I give them a guideline of what needs to be in the chapter so that that chapter then also leads them into an offer where they, where they can call in their ideal client, where they can have a journey that is opening because of the story. I always love them to share a little bit about their personal life. How did they get to where they are now? What makes them tick? What is the wisdom they can share? And how can people work more with them? So that is the journey.
great. I just have a feeling that to co-author a book takes off the stress of you doing it alone. How
Yes.
true is that?
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing I also do is we have weekly, like 30-minute calls where we gather, where everybody's in the same journey. Everybody is maybe struggling or with the writing and needing to see what's coming up, because that writing is transformative, as you've already said. With your book, it's a transformative process. So I'm there with my coaching background to hold them, to create a safe container. And sometimes we just need to be seen and witnessed in what is going on, realize that we're not alone because there's 20 other people, 20 other women experiencing the same thing. And we enrich. It's an incredible, rich experience. And I just absolutely love what unfolds in that journey.
Yeah. And let's not minimize the importance of many people getting together to have a book. Your message goes across faster,
Yes.
wider than you just trying to focus on your thing, on your one thing.
Exactly. We're tapping into the networks and the communities of 20 people and sharing it. And I mean, that's what I love about collaborating. And women are so brilliant at it. We are so good at helping one another, sharing each other's expertise and wisdom and tools. And yes, exactly. So it goes a lot further. And the friendships and
Yes,
the
yes.
co-creations that are coming out of a book like this are amazing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think we should have a conversation with you, Amiriel. I think it's going to be a great thing to do together. And
Yeah.
I know you coaches have difficulties, getting stubborn people like me to get that book out there. But Muriel is asking, hi, Krystal. What do you think is the most difficult as a coach? Managing a solo author or a collaboration book?
It's a great question. um, I think they both have their challenges, and if I have to be perfectly honest, I haven't done a solo book yet. Um, I think with a solo book, what I would say is because there's much more to write, the challenge is to keep the momentum going for the solo author so that they finish their book. With a multi-author book, just from a publisher perspective, you've got to coordinate a lot more people, and keep them on track. There's not just one person to get to the deadline. There's like 20 people. But yeah, I love collaboration at the moment. This is really where my passion is. I want to bring groups of people together so that can be that experience can be shared. And I know that leads to solo books. And I feel like next year that's where I'll be moving into as well. Those who've been in these multi-author books already will then want to write their own, or some people approach me to write theirs.
Good. Yeah, it's a lot of work having many people to. So for one of your last book, how many co-authors did you have?
So my first book, Fearless Presence, had 25. The current one, Collaboration is having 17. That's coming out on September 24th. And Intuitive Living, I don't know yet. The book will tell me when it's complete, because I'll be relying on my intuition. So I'm still calling the contributors in for that one.
So what is the process now for the Intuitive Living? If I decided to be part of this collaboration, what do I have to do? How many words do I have to produce? What do you have specific topics that you would like to have in the book? And are you going to be the coach to the people who are collaborating in this book? Is there a cost involved? Please give us a rundown on the process.
Absolutely. Gosh, there were so many questions.
No, okay, let's start. Okay, let's do the.
I wanted to answer them in order, but I've forgotten the first one. So, what story? So it's 3,000 words, or 3,000 to 3,500 words, and that's approximately 8 A4 pages. I give a chapter outline of what can be in it. Basically, a little bit about your story, your journey, how you came to work with intuition. Do you work with it in your everyday life? There might have been a pivotal point, the before and after story is always very powerful. Somebody having an awakening. Then leading into what you're doing now, what is your expertise? What's your area of expertise? And how are you? Like, I've got a business coach in this book. She is an incredibly intuitive woman, and she uses her intuition in her business coaching. So it's not immediately related. You don't have to be a meditation teacher or something to be able to be in that book. I've also got a copywriter in this book, and she has, she's got a background in teaching, and then her intuition was telling her, this, you're no longer meant to be here. You're meant to go somewhere else. And suddenly she listened to that, and suddenly everything opened up for her. She landed her dream job. She'd always known she wanted to write. And she'd used her intuition, and she had the courage to trust that intuition to go into that job. So whatever your story is what you can share through the lens of intuition, bringing that in. Yes, there is a cost involved. It's $1,100 US to be part of this job, and we take care of absolutely everything. So there's developmental editing, and that means simply that we're going to look at your story, making sure that it flows, making sure that you have given all aspects, that you're bringing across what you want to bring across, basically, that it's not just in your head, but it's actually made it onto the page. So we look at that. Then there's grammatical editing, and then goes into formatting, and the bestseller campaign is part of the package as well of course some marketing material, some beautiful graphics, and some copy, and coaching. So I'm coaching on marketing, of how you can really make the most of this experience, how you can really expose yourself and become the expert that you are, how you can get yourself into the press, into media, what offers might work at the end that you can sell as part of the launch. And then also the more transformational coaching, we use tapping, we use healing to really release any fears around stepping into a higher version of ourselves, an international best-selling author, and the fears that might come with that, like, what will other people think of me? The imposter syndrome, am I really deserving to put myself To have that title, best-selling author, all those doubts that are coming up, we work with them, we release them, we integrate them. Yeah.
Yeah. Muriel has a question. She says, what do you think is the right number of authors for a collaboration book?
You know what? I don't think there is a right number. I wouldn't say more than 25, but I wouldn't say less than 15 either. Because if you have less than 15, it might not, give you that group experience, and more than 25 is just going to be too much. So between 15 and 25, I would say, is a good amount.
And she herself, she says it. I personally think that when there are too many authors, 20 plus, it's very difficult to manage. And I feel like the message can be lost in the process.
Yeah, look, 25 was, I managed. That was okay. But I hear you. It is, you sometimes feel like you're the kindergarten teacher that has to make sure that, they all line up where they're meant to line up. But especially when you're working with entrepreneurs where everybody knows that they're their own leader, it can have its challenges because they don't like following, they like leading. But that's just part of the nature of things. And I love leaders, and it's, so far it hasn't been a problem.
Yeah. I agree with Muriel. 20 is a lot. And let's just be realistic here. 20 women, 20 different stories doesn't make something that you want to sit on that book and finish in one go, To me, collaboration would mean different stories that gives you the reason to wake up from your seat and go do what you have to do. But when we start having 20, it's like too many things. And she's right in the sense that the message can be lost in the flow. What message on this planet Earth will have more than 25 people saying the same thing that makes sense to me? I don't know.
This is where I come back to every, we are all unique. We all have our unique story. And yes, it brings out the theme. It brings out the message. Like, I had so many different people in the first book, and they all had a unique message to share around the book. At the time, the title was called Fearless Presence, how they had stepped into their fearless presence. And what I love about collaboration, in a book, is that some readers might resonate with one more than with another. But what the beauty of sharing our stories is that the reader can relate to their own story, their own life, through the perspective of the authors, because the themes are universal. And suddenly it's like, again, you talked about puzzle pieces earlier, right? It's bringing us a different perspective on a universal theme that we are individually are going through in our unique way. And that's where the transformational power of storytelling comes in.
Good. There must be some advantages. I mean, if we have to give 3,000 words, $1,100, what are the advantages that comes with this book? Is there a possibility of an income stream in this book? How is it managed after it's published? Maybe because it becomes an international best-selling book. How can women pull? What income stream can this bring to them? Because I'm all about the money, ma'am.
Absolutely. And I'm with you. And this is what I really focus on in the book, is how does this book benefit you to bring more clients to you?
Yeah.
How do we need to position you so that you become the expert? So when you have the title International Best-Selling Author, which is 99% guaranteed, it's guaranteed that it becomes a bestseller. An international bestseller is very likely. My first book became a #1 in 4 countries. So that was a multiple international bestseller. Once you have that title, you have the doors to the media open. If they have 2 people who are life coaches, one is a best-selling author, the other one isn't, you know who's going to come into the media. You know who's going to get more exposure. And when you get, and we know that it's all about exposure. The more you can share your story, the more you can share your services and your offers, the more people will come to you. It starts to flow. It becomes like a ripple effect. So That's the benefit. That's the advantage. You're sharing your message. You're establishing yourself as an expert in your field because you're getting that title. You have exposure to 20 to however many co-authors are in the book, and their networks. You have collaboration opportunities. You really get to know each other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
all of that.
what does it mean to be an international bestseller? How many countries do you have to sell your books to be an international bestseller? How many copies do you have to sell to get the title as an international bestseller?
So international bestseller simply means more than one country. So all you have to do is get a bestseller in 2 countries. And that is very easy. So in Australian market to become bestseller is very easy. All the books that I've been involved in, it launches at 9 o'clock. At 1 o'clock, usually we're number one in at least one category. And then America and Canada follow. That it depends. You've got to be smart with the categories that you choose. So that's part of the bestseller campaign, and I've got an expert team sorting that out. So in terms of how many books you have to sell, you can't tell because it depends on what category it is in, who else is in the category, how much is being sold in that category, etc. But that's what the bestseller team is sorting out and ensuring that we hit what we're promising.
So that's a target which explains the 1,100 US dollars, right? So it's all in this package that you guarantee that this 3,000 words is going to bring you this title, and you can take it from there and create whatever you want to keep creating, right?
Yeah, and for me, really, it is with everything. What you put in, you get out.
Yes.
The more engaged you are in the process, the more collaboration, the more connections you form, the more personal interactions you have, the more people will know, like, and trust you. The more you share, the more you involve your readers, your community in your journey of this book, the more they're looking forward to finally getting it into their hand and buying it on the day it comes out. Yeah. So, yeah, the more press releases you send out, the more interviews you get. It is that. But yes, that's what we guarantee: bestseller through your what's the word? Your participation in the book. You become a bestseller.
Yes. What's the target? What's the target here for? When do you hope for this book to be out?
Intuitive Living, I'd like to have it out early next year. It's too late now because we don't want to compete with Christmas and we don't want it to get lost in that. It takes about 3 months to produce it. After 3 months is a good time. So we want to get it out January or February.
Okay, great. What one advice would you give to anyone listening to this, either as a live with us here or as a replay? What one advice would you give to someone who is hesitant, fearful, but still has the urge to get the book out or to be part of your book? What advice could you give to them?
I would say, come and connect with me. Let's have a conversation. I'm not somebody like what I'm really priding myself on is that I know when something is in alignment. And if, in that conversation, I realize, no, it's not yet. It's too soon for you because the right timing is everything. I will not get somebody into the book. So have a conversation, explore it, be curious, and see what happens in that conversation, because fear is just interference. Fear is what we've been programmed with. And it's about stepping courageously into that higher knowing and really trusting that higher knowing. When we do that, the doors can open.
And you have a book coach as well backing you up here. She says collaboration books are really good for getting bestseller status. Point. She insists. You see the exclamation sign there?
Yeah.
Because you have more people connecting with their respective network and marketing the book.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
So if anyone is listening to this and you're still fearful of, I'm just going to put Krystal's handle for you to follow her if you can, or contact us and we can put you in connection with her. Or if you have a story, let us know and let us see where it sits and what's possible for you. When we talk of intuition, we also know deep down our hearts that certain things must, not everything should be done within a certain scope of things. I think when you really have a story, when we really have something to put out there, the universe will help us one way or the other for it to be seen, heard, and consumed as well. So,
Yes.
Krystal, my wish for you is that you keep shining your light, you keep helping most of us, asking the question day after day, what's holding us back? From an African perspective, from the mouth of an African woman, fear is a problem, money is a problem, the knowledge is there, the courage is there, but we really lack communities that can uplift us on how to do things, how to go about things which are not normal to us. We are afraid to break these boundaries, the barriers, and put ourselves out there because of our culture. Some of us are crazy, like me. So not everyone is in the same box. My prayer is that many people will listen to you, that many people will join the movement. This is the beginning of something that we can really, 3,000 words is not a lot. It's just the beginning of starting something great. You have this story. I know many of you in this community. I know you. I know why I decided to call upon her. You have this story. Yes, it's expensive. Tell us what you have a story. Let's see what's holding you back.
And there is always a way with the money. There's always a way. So, and again, I'm open to talking about that as well. But yes, what is holding you back? What is the fear? And often we have interference patterns that are kicking in, and there's something that still wants to be said. It's not.
Yes.
It's back here somewhere, and it wants to.
Yes.
Let me just get it. Let me. I just to conclude this, I'd love you to just put your hands on your heart if you are listening, if you've been here, and just ask yourself, regardless of whether you're going to be in a book or not, ask yourself, what is mine to share? What is mine to share? What wisdom has the universe put inside of me? What stories have I experienced that want to come through me for the betterment and the benefit of humanity and of our fellow sisters all around the world? Thank you.
All the best for your next book.
Thank you. Yes, feel that fear, but do it anyway, people.
Yeah.
With discernment. Like, we don't want to do anything. Like, if a story isn't ready to share because it's not digested yet, it's not, processed yet, or it's still in progress, maybe it needs to wait. But yeah, feel that fear and do it anyway. That's it. Everything will work out for the best of all. Yes.
It always works out for the best. We don't just know it yet. It always does. It's a pleasure having you. I'm going to contact Muriel as well because she's a powerhouse woman with a big heart. She's doing amazing work. If I ever get to write that book, she will be my one who is going to pull me from. She's motivating lots of African women, men, the younger generation. And I hope I can put the two of you in contact, or the three of us, so we motivate women to bring out what's within them. They
Yes.
have stories. It's just hard. Being an African woman is just hard.
And you know what? As a white woman, I love your stories. I honor you so, so, so much because there is so much wisdom that comes from that hardship. And I honor that so deeply, and the world needs to hear it.
We'll do something. We'll do
Yeah.
something. Something will come up. Let's go back to our mats. Close our eyes again. We close our eyes again and ask the question that you just asked, what has to come through you? What has to come through? Why are we here? Why are we having this conversation? It was meant to be. If anyone watching this live stream has a story, you have 3,000 words within you. There is a next book waiting for you. There are many, many other women waiting for you. Join the conversation. Tell your story. African women must step into their power and get their own voice. Oh, Muriel! I told you. She's a powerhouse. Yes, we must. No one is going to make this change for us. Someone can give you what you're not asking for. No one is going to knock your door if you're not ready to have the conversation. Krystal, it was a pleasure having you. Let's have more conversation behind the scenes. Let's put something together. I know the next topic that's coming up. I know the next questions that I'm going to have as emails, which I will put you in the loop. It's easier than we think to start writing this book. You do not have to write those texts. Get your phone, take your phone, record yourself.
That's it.
Amazon, Google has an app. I think we should do what we could do, but you see, it starts coming. What we could do is we have like a webinar where we just show women, go to Google and you record your voice. Just say what you have. Just keep talking.
Yeah.
Keep talking, let it come out. Then you can work on the script. It's that easy. It's that fast.
Yeah.
It's the emotional side that gets complicated. Are you really ready to share that? That's when things get complicated.
And that's where I can help as well.
Exactly.
With all the coaching tools and really, coming into alignment with the higher aspects of ourselves. But exactly. Sharing into a microphone, even not a microphone, even into the phone. There's
a voice.
Yep.
Yes.
And the other thing is recording a conversation you have with a friend who asks you all these questions about your life. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. It's time.
My deceased husband used to tell me, do you know how many coaching, are you aware of the coaching calls you give away on a weekly basis on that phone? And I looked at him and I'm like, what? Coaching call? No, he said, because you just said this just called and you just did this, and are you aware of it? I said, well, but that's not coaching. That's just my, just advice. I'm just telling. And he said, but why did they call you? And that's when it clicked, that we all, most of all, already are doing the work. But we do not consider that as the work. So it's time to go back, think about it. And you ladies, I'm going to be messaging many of you. Thank you, Mireille, for your time. I appreciate you so much. You know that. Je t'embrasse, ma sœur. Merci infiniment d'être ici avec moi. Krystal, let's continue the conversation, shall we?
Thank you so much for having me, Lillian. I'm just so honored to be here.
Let's continue. Let's continue the conversation. I want to see at least one of your books with my African women in it. Yeah. That's my wish. Come on, universe. Bring it on. We are already doing the work. We are already doing the work, women. We are already doing the work. So let's continue. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you in our next live stream. Bye bye, Krystal.
Bye.
Thank you, sis. Love you too. Thank you very much for all your support, all what you do for the African women. Thank you so much for your encouragement and what you do for me behind the scenes. I appreciate you. Ladies, this is it. Gradually, we are bringing to you what you need. You know who you are. I'm talking to you right now, today. This is an opportunity for you to be in an international best-selling book. 3,000 words, bring it on. Bring it. Just tell me what you have as ideas. Let's go collaborate with others. We cannot sit where we are and think things will change. It will not. We've got to make that move. We've got to ask the right questions, be in the right network, because the future is not waiting. No, it's going to happen anyway. With or without you, it's going to happen. And my wish is to see many of you. I really hope this book doesn't go without one Awifian in it. I really, really, really wish. Send me a message. You know where to find me. lilian.muller@awif.org or administration@awif.org. Take care of yourself. You are the star that makes the difference. You are. Show up. We need you. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you in the next live stream. Bye-bye.